Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ginger Pierce, and I am one of the agents with Marvelous Mouse Travels. We are the agency that sponsors this Facebook group, along with several others that are focused on different destinations. Welcome to Sundays with MMT. This is a weekly live agent panel video series that we do in one of our Facebook groups every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are so excited to be in this group for the first time ever. And the reason why we have never been in this group before is because the cruise lines have been closed down for a really long time. And so we're really excited to see them up and running again and to talk to you tonight specifically about Royal Caribbean's return to sailing and what that looks like. So we have 3 agents joining us tonight who have just gotten off the ships, who have experienced this return to sailing firsthand and are really excited to talk to you about that. So we are using a program called StreamYard to go live tonight, and we would welcome your questions. We will take some time at the end of the video to go over any questions that you have and to answer those for you. But StreamYard might ask you to approve it to display your username and your profile picture. If you want to post a comment, just know that you don't have to approve that permission. You can still post anonymously, and we'll be able to interact with you. So I'm joined tonight, like I mentioned, by 3 of our marvelous agents. Ladies, thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you would just take a second to tell everybody your name, how long you've been with the agency, and the best way for them to contact you if they're interested in planning a vacation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Hope. I have been with Marvelous Mouse Travels for almost 2 years, and the best way to reach me is tracy.hope@marvelousmousetravels.com.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shanna Lopez. I have actually just celebrated my 1-year anniversary with Marvelous Mouse Travels. And the best way to reach me is shanna@marvelousmousetravels.com.
Stephanie, I think you might be muted. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good now. Oh, now you're muted again.
Am I good?
Now you're good. Yes.
Okay. What's going on? I'm Stephanie Navarro, and I've been with the agency going on my 4th year. And the best way to reach me is Stephanie Navarro at marvelousmousetravels.com.
And again, my name is Ginger. I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary with the agency back in May. I'm a master planner, and the best way to get in touch with me is to go to my blog, which you can find at gingermmt.com. So, ladies, as I mentioned when I was introducing tonight's video, all of you have recently gotten the opportunity to be on cruise ships again, which is really, really exciting. And so you have experienced firsthand what Royal's return to sailing looks like. And so, we definitely want to hear what it was like for you, what you felt about the protocols that were in place. But let's start off with just talking about those protocols. So, what are the protocols in place for guests regarding testing, vaccination status, and face coverings with Royal Caribbean? Oh, Tracy, you're muted too.
Gosh, this is a trend. Sorry. So I will attempt to answer that. As of August the 12th, Royal Caribbean is now requiring everyone ages 2 and up to have a PCR antigen test no more than 3 days prior to sailing. They are also requiring that masks be worn indoors, but I'm sure as we go further into that, there are some exceptions throughout the cruise. But other than that, it could change daily, and they will relook at those guidelines as of August 31st.
Yes. And, that's one thing that we've kind of seen be fairly consistent, whether we're talking about cruise lines or theme parks or all inclusives, like it is a fluid situation. And so, just because we're talking about protocols tonight, those protocols could change a week from now, and that's maybe one more reason why you want to book your Royal Caribbean cruise through a travel professional, because we keep up with things like that. It's our job to keep up with things like that. And so we're going to make sure that you have, that most up-to-date information and you're ready to sail. So let's talk a little bit about onboard experiences. How have onboard experiences been modified to promote health and wellness?
I can maybe speak to that just a tad. It was my first time sailing, so I probably have a different perspective. You did have to wear your mask when you were anywhere inside the ship. Um, but once you were outside on the decks, you didn't have to wear your mask. And a couple of other times, I went ahead and worked out at the gym, and they did have scheduled times where vaccinated guests could go to the gym, and you didn't have to wear your mask at all, which was really nice. And then I think also the casino, I don't think you had to wear your mask in the casino. I think it was for vaccinated guests, but I could be wrong on that. So there were parts of the ship where it was for vaccinated guests, and so that was nice too.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then for us, for the shows, they would separate the sections. So the lower level of the theater was for vaccinated guests, and you did not need a mask. But if you were unvaccinated, you had to sit up top with a mask and keep your distance.
Mhm. Definitely.
And what I liked too was on the cruise compass, you could clearly see areas that were strictly for vaccinated guests and then areas that were for everyone. So you kind of knew what to expect when you went in, because it's kind of hard to keep it clear as to what's what. And also on the doors going into different areas of the ship, they would have, a sign posted, wear your mask on, you can take your mask off. And I found that very helpful as well, because, sometimes you'd be in an area where you could have it off and you'd leave like, oh my gosh, I got to put my mask back on. But, you're quickly reminded very nicely, and you just put it on and went about the rest of your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful for sure because I
Mhm.
mean it is sometimes hard to keep up with where you can go and when you're supposed to have it on. Yeah.
The solarium was another area that you could take your mask off, and I want to say it had the sign on the door for vaccinated guests only as well. So
Mhm.
that was nice that you could go like the hot tub or just kind of be around without that.
Yeah. And how do you prove your vaccination status when you board?
And I, again, it was my first time sailing, so I don't know if you have to go through so many people usually, but I probably was stopped at 4 or 5 different spots at the terminal before I even got on the ship, where they would ask for my passport and my vaccination card. And so they made sure that they checked multiple times to see who was vaccinated and who wasn't.
Mhm. Gotcha.
When I went out of Seattle, and when we checked in at the port, they actually took a photo of your vaccination card, and then they distributed a white wristband, and
Mhm.
people with a white wristband on were vaccinated guests, and you had to have your wristband. I mean, when you checked in different places, if it was caught under your jacket sleeve or your shirt sleeve, they would ask you for it. So I thought that was a really, really good way to distinguish whether you were vaccinated or not.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went out of Port Canaveral and we had purple bracelets showing that we were
Okay.
vaccinated.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we had to have the bracelets too. I think I maybe got home and it was the next day that I realized I was still wearing mine.
Right. It's like a magic band at Disney. It just
Yeah.
becomes part of
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah,
And your legs are still moving too, so it was
yeah.
okay. You were
Yeah.
still on board.
That's right. That's right. So, how have processes such as muster drill or the embarkation and debarkation process have been modified to promote health and wellness?
A lot of it was on the app, which I thought was really nice. You did a bunch of safety check videos on the app. And then once you got on board, at any time, we were able to go to our assigned muster station, and they would check our app, see our green check mark, and give us a sticker. And we were free to go. So we didn't have to wait for a designated time. And it was just on our own the day of flying. It was super quick.
Awesome.
It was really fast. Yeah.
That's one thing that I think is maybe a COVID keeper kind of moving forward, because I was doing a Royal Caribbean training just a few weeks ago, and Royal Caribbean has actually patented that technology for those kind of virtual muster drills. And I think that that's something that moving forward, even once the pandemic is in the rearview mirror, I think that maybe that process might be something that sticks around because, like you guys said, it seems like a much more efficient way to do that, rather than having, everybody have to go at a certain time and crowd into this one area and everything like that. What about embarkation and debarkation?
I thought it went very well. I thought they moved it along quickly. I mean, it's definitely going to take a little bit more time, I feel, but I think it's worth it. I think everybody knows what they're doing. It's just getting the photos that they want. Doing the check-in before taking your photo before you go to the port certainly helps. I thought it was very easy. I think it's kind of easier than getting on a plane, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sure. So what about ports of call, including Perfect Day at Coco Cay? Any updates we need to be aware of as to, who can get on and off the ship, what's available at the ports of call?
Coco Cay was pretty much the same as being on the ship. So whatever protocols they followed on the ship carried over to the island. They still had the same, you can sit here, it's clean, don't sit here, it's dirty kind of tag. And for the most part, I mean, I was a vaccinated guest, so we were allowed everywhere with no mask because it was outside.
Mm-hmm. Was pretty much everything open at Coco Cay?
Yeah, everything was open. We had access to the water park. All the slides were open, all the bars, the pools. It was pretty much business as usual.
That's awesome.
So I went to Alaska, and for us in Ketchikan, it was our only port of call. And if you were vaccinated, you were free to get off, do whatever you wanted to do. However, if you were unvaccinated, you were allowed to sign up and do excursions. Once your excursion was done, however, you had to get right back on the ship. So, and they were also very clear as to what the guidelines were for us in Alaska, to keep your masks on. As much as possible, especially in the shops. You could take it off when you're outside, of course, but just to be respectful of them and their culture there, and to make sure you abide by what they're doing. So it was very clear. There was no guessing at all. We knew what we were supposed to do.
Awesome. That's awesome. So just what was it like to be back on a cruise ship again after almost a year and a half of closures? Did it feel good? Were you excited?
I had a great time. Again, I've said it like 3 times. It was my first time, and the whole time I was thinking, "Oh my goodness, I can't wait to bring my family on a cruise. They would have the best time." Or even just my husband and I. There's just so much to do. It was amazing. I loved it. So
For me, I loved just seeing the crew. I mean, gosh, I felt like a celebrity. We got up there, they were lined up, they were clapping, they were so happy to see us. I think it was evident throughout the entire cruise that they wanted us on that ship. They were happy to have us on that ship. They would do anything, to make us happy. It just was so heartwarming to see them, and the food. I missed that food. It was so good. Just the way that everybody was just trying to please us, and the food was delicious. The activities were great. For our cruise, there weren't maybe as many as there would normally be, but once, sailing is now back, that will all come back. But the shows were great. We just had a really good time. I haven't sailed for about 2 years, which most people haven't, but I had my daughter with me, and we can't stop talking about it. I mean, when somebody asked me, how was your trip? I just beam. I literally, before we got off, she said, Mom, can we book our next one before we get off of here? I'm like, yeah, we'll book one, but not right now. I got to talk to the family. But I'm so happy it's back, and I really feel that they are doing everything that they can to keep us safe. I always thought it was pretty safe anyway, because you're always told to wash your hands, but the number of sanitizers throughout the ship, the people, ensuring that you're using them, it just really made me feel good. They were clear as to where you could sit and couldn't sit. You knew that table was clean. It was safe to sit there. The signs were posted clearly for the elevators. We never had to wait. And everybody was just really happy to be there. So it was an awesome experience. I can't wait to do it again. It was great.
That's great. Stephanie, what about you? What was your experience?
It was almost surreal, just like standing there and like, God, I'm actually back on a cruise ship. And everyone, like Tracy said, was so happy to welcome us on board. It was an unreal feeling just to be back on. Like, oh my God, it's how many days, since we've been on a boat. And it was the best. It was the best time. I was so happy to be there. So it was great. I can't wait to go again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see the cruise industry return, and to just see, like you guys mentioned, I think one of the best things about all of the reopenings, whether we're talking about the reopenings of theme parks or resorts, is the people who work there. Just to see how excited they are to be back to work and to know what it means for their families. It's just like I think it was Tracy that said it's just heartwarming. And so, if you have the opportunity to travel, if you feel comfortable traveling right now, definitely the people who work in the travel industry are so happy to see people back. And, we just love supporting them, particularly partners like Royal Caribbean, who we know are committed to taking care of their guests and to try to give them the safest cruise experience possible. So, what are your tips, like your top tips for people who are thinking about planning a cruise right now? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I would say, I think it's normal for people to have so many questions, and to maybe feel a little hesitant. But, if you're a cruiser, don't hesitate. Sanitize your hands, stay away from people if you're not comfortable. But they are doing such a good job spacing people out and making so many things available for people, that you don't have to come in close contact. But don't miss out on an experience like this. This is a great time to go. The ports are not as crowded right now. The ships are maybe not exactly as crowded. I mean, we want them to get crowded, but it's just a really great time to kind of get yourself back in the game. It is, you'll just be so happy you did. I'll be honest, I don't think I've had that much rest in my entire life. Like, just being on the lowdown, laying in the solarium. We saw whales in the ocean. We met really nice people. It was a whole different experience. I guess I appreciate it a lot more maybe now that we've gone through what we've gone through, but it's so good to see it coming back. And I would just tell people to, be prepared, make the best out of it. It may not be exactly what you're used to, but it is an awesome vacation. And there really isn't any reason not to get on board those ships. They are doing everything possible, and I feel like it's actually a lot safer than going to your grocery store maybe. I mean, it's just so clean. It's amazing. It is really, really clean, and everything is just being done so carefully now, and everything to follow everything that they possibly can to keep us safe. So don't hesitate. Take that trip.
Anybody else have any tips to share?
I agree. I would not wait. I would go. It was the best time, and everything was so clean. And I think one of the great things is that they're still doing housekeeping. So our room was done multiple times a day. So I know a lot of people don't like traveling right now because if you go to a hotel, they're not always going to clean your room or change the sheets. But on the cruises, they're still doing it, and everything is still super clean and super safe.
Awesome. Shanna, what about you?
And kind of going off what both ladies were saying, I never felt like I was in a position or situation where I felt uncomfortable in the sense of, oh, people are really close to me. I don't like this. And then, as a person who sailed for the first time, I think I might have gotten a little spoiled by there not being as many people on the ship. I kind of equated it to going to Disney this past year when we had the reduced capacity and got really spoiled by that. So I think maybe that'll be a little adjustment for me when I go again. But people who are thinking about it right now, it's awesome to not have, that many people. Of course, we want to get it back to normal. I think I was watching Gina today, and she said her ship, I think maybe had a capacity of 4,000, and there might be 2,000 on it. And it was just great. It was spaced out. You never had to run into, I mean, you could hang out with people, but it just wasn't crowded. So
Yeah,
great time to go.
Awesome. That's
You could do the
awesome.
flow rider over and over again.
Yes.
That's a great point. That's a great
Yeah,
point.
there you could do whatever you wanted to do. You could hop on
Right.
those bumper. And that's another thing to mention, Ginger, is they do also require a little bit more reservations, but it's so easy to do on the app. So if you want to do the bumper cars, instead of showing up, just go on your app, click a button, what time you're going to show up. And if it's not at capacity, you can still walk in. But, they're trying to make sure that they do have people spaced out, and they do require a little bit more reservations. It's not to say you can't do it, but it's best just to go ahead and make that reservation. And I found that very easy, even with the dining. We made our reservation, we showed up, it was easy. And you can't really do that, those reservations until you get on the ship. But as soon as you get on there, fire up the app while you're eating your lunch. And that's another thing. Talk about waiting on your hand and foot. Now it's like they will get your drinks for you. They hand you your silverware. They hand you your napkin. I mean, basically, they're just avoiding a lot of people touching things. But it is so nice. Like, you literally are going on this cruise and not doing anything except walking from point A to point B. And it's just like, I came home and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to make a bed. I got to cook dinner. It spoiled is, that's not even the word for it. It was absolutely amazing to just be treated like that. So
That's
I think that's also one of the perks that has come out of all of this.
For sure. Now we all know how royalty feels, right? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing your tips with us. I appreciate that. Let's check our comments here and see if we have any questions. Oh, hello. Thank you for watching. Keeping the virtual muster drills would be, yes, I totally agree. And based on at least my impressions that I got in that training, I think that's kind of the plan. And so that would be exciting. I think Royal is even open to sharing that technology with other cruise lines. So that might be something that we just see moving forward, which could be really exciting. Yes, I agree. I have not gotten on a cruise ship yet, but I'm excited to get back to it as well. And I'm so excited, like we talked about earlier, for all of the wonderful people who work for Royal Caribbean and the other cruise lines as well, just to see them get back in the game and get back to work. I think that's all of the comments that we have. So thank you all so much for joining us for Sundays with MMT. If you would like to get information about planning a cruise from any of the agents that you heard from tonight, if you missed our contact information, it is all back at the beginning of the video. So feel free to go back and check that out, and you can reach out to any of our agents. Keep in mind that it is completely free to book your vacation through an agent. It doesn't cost you any extra. You'll just pay what your cruise costs, the same amount that you would pay if you were to go on Royal Caribbean's website and to book that cruise directly. But when you book with an agent, you are getting, firsthand experience from people like these ladies who have sailed, who are able to explain to you, this is what you need to know going in. These are the current protocols, and can really kind of walk you through that whole process. Our planning services, like I mentioned, though, are completely free to you as long as you book your cruise through us. And it's the same price to do that as it is to book it directly on Royal Caribbean's website. So next week, we are going to be in our Universal Orlando group, and we are going to be answering the question, do I need express passes at Universal Orlando? One of the great things I love about Universal Orlando and Royal Caribbean is that you do actually have the opportunity to book like a package deal that combines a cruise on Royal Caribbean with a trip to Universal Orlando. So it's really easy to do these destinations back to back. And when you work with our agency, you get, the perks of working with an agent who knows both really well and can kind of help you plan both legs of your trip. So we hope that you will join us again next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Sundays with MMT. Thanks for watching, everybody.